Hello and welcome to tonight's Big Future Live event, Is a STEM Career in Your Future? My name is Greg Rafal. I use he, him pronouns, and I work here on the Big Future team. I'm your host for this evening. For those of you who don't know, Big Future is a team of former educators, parents, college and career planning pros, and other folks who are really committed to helping all students take the right first step after high school. And we're so thankful to you all for joining us today. I know for many of you, it's probably been a long day at school or long day at work for the parents or educators joining us. But thank you so much for joining Big Future Live. Now, for our first timers here, Big Future Live is a series of virtual community events where you connect with college representatives, career experts, and your peers to help you plan your first step after high school. Big Future Live was created so that you can get your questions answered to plan your future your way. A little bit more about Big Future Live. During tonight's event and future Big Future Live events, you're not going to sit through a long presentation. We're not going to go through a whole bunch of PowerPoint slides. This is a virtual community powered by students, parents, and of course, your questions. So why are we here tonight? Well, as we know, planning for life after high school can be pretty overwhelming. Many of you who are joining us are probably interested in the STEM field, but there's so many pathways and jobs and careers out there. How do you decide what's going to be the right first step for you? Well, Big Future Live and our panelists are here to help. Today, we're joined by an aerospace engineer at NASA, the president of a tech company, and a current college student who are all ready to answer your questions about why they chose their career paths, what education they needed, and what their jobs are like now. So please get your questions ready and welcome, welcome, welcome to the Big Future Live family. Now, I can see there are a lot of folks who are joining the call tonight, which is awesome. We'd love to know who is here to help us answer your questions today. So with that, we're going to launch our first quick poll. If you're a student, what grade are you in? And if you're a parent or an educator, what grade is your child in? So you should see a quick poll on your screen and go ahead and answer that for us so we can get to know who is in our audience tonight. Again, if you're a student, what grade are you in? If you're a parent or an educator, what grade is your child in? And I'm starting to see some answers come through here. All right, numbers are shifting a little bit, but it looks like we have about 45% of you are juniors, 11th graders. Another 34%, it looks like our 10th graders. But we also have some 12th graders and freshmen in the room as well. Excuse me. Well, spoiler alert, no matter if you're a 9th grader or 12th grader, tonight's event is really for everyone. But again, it is nice to know who's in the room tonight. So now that we know who our audience is, let's go ahead and meet our speakers for today. And I'll ask our speakers to join us on camera. Awesome. We have Mike, Lamia, and Ken. Thank you all for joining us tonight. And I'm going to just call on each of you to introduce yourselves to us. What's your name? Where do you call home? What's your job, or where do you go to school? And then tell us a fun fact about you. I want to get to know you a little bit. And I'm going to start with Ken.
Hi, everybody. Excited to be here. Hopefully, I can be of some help. I am president of a company called Mobomo. I would say my role is really a tech entrepreneur. So I've started, kind of two companies, initially starting in kind of the computer science field and becoming a software engineer, and then doing my MBA and ultimately starting my own business. So any questions around comp sci, software engineering, tech field, and entrepreneurship, I'm more than happy to answer.
Thanks so much, Ken. Appreciate it. And Lamia.
Hi, my name is Lamia. I'm from Queens, New York. I attend school at Delaware State University. My major is biological sciences with a concentration in health professions. A fun fact about myself is that I am a Miss CSA, so that means like I'm a face of an organization that I'm a part of. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Thanks, Lamia. So happy to have you on board. I'm sure there are a lot of other folks who are on the call today interested in a major just like yours. So looking forward to hearing your perspective. Last but not least, we have Mike.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having us, Greg, and thanks for everyone for taking time out of their evening to learn about STEM. My name is Mike Ramey. I'm a NASA engineer in Hampton, Virginia. Work in the air elasticity branch. I did a lot. I've been at NASA for about 20 years now, and loving every minute of it. I guess a fun fact about myself is I summited Mount Kilimanjaro, so they do in fact let us out at some point in time.
That's awesome, Mike. I'm sure there are other like hiking aficionados on the call here. We'll save that for another event, but it's good to know who we can call on. Ken, did we get a fun fact from you?
I forgot my fun fact. I apologize. So my fun fact is I'm almost as cool as Michael because my current company actually built and maintains the NASA.gov site. So we're cool by association.
Awesome. Well, Ken, Mike, Lamia, happy to have you on board. All of our users out there in our audience, get those questions ready. You know who our panelists are now, so we'll get to your questions in a bit. But before we get there, let's go over just some housekeeping for today. During today's event, you'll be in listen-only mode, which means that you can see us, but unfortunately, we can't see you. But that doesn't mean that we don't want to hear from you. There's an Ask a Question button at the bottom of your screen where you can type in your questions. Now, Big Future Live is all about getting your questions answered, so please don't be shy. Please submit those questions. There are a lot of people on the call today, so we're going to do our best to get to as many of those questions as possible. We'll also have a feedback survey at the end of the event that we'll send you just to know how your experience was today, and will help us make future Big Future Live events even better. And say you're on your phone or you have to leave halfway through for some reason. We hope you stay for the whole thing, but if you can't, don't worry. The recording will be available on demand at bigfuture.org/live. And today's event is just the beginning. We have many more Big Future Live events coming your way to get your questions answered. And you can see the full list of events, including one we have tomorrow night at bigfuture.org/live. Now, again, we're here all about your questions, but I have one last question for our audience before we jump in. And I'd like to know what brought you to today's event. What are you most interested in learning about today? So you should see another quick survey pop up on your screen. Tell us, are you looking to learn about what it's like to be an aerospace engineer? Do you want to know more about what it's like to work in tech? Or are you wanting to know more about the education needed for some of these jobs? All right. We have a lot of folks interested in learning about what it's like to be an aerospace engineer. A good amount of folks are interested in, well, it looks like everything, really. All of you are interested in everything, which is great. And we are going to get right to those questions. And let's go ahead and dive in. Our first question is for you, Ken. Heather wants to know, in your personal experiences, when did you know that you wanted to pursue a career in STEM?
Oh gosh, that was pretty early on in life. My pivot was that I was supposed to be a doctor because my father was a doctor, my sister was a doctor. So I actually entered college as a dual major in microbiology and in computer science. And the reason that I went into computer science is because I love computers, and we can get into that. But basically, it was because I liked video games. So yeah, since I was like a child, probably like, I don't know, 12, 13. Now that evolved from wanting to be a magician carpenter, but soon found out that that was not a viable vocation. But I did love computers, and that's why I kind of got into that. So I would say at a pretty early age, I knew I wanted to get into STEM.
That's great, Ken. And I think what you just said is important for a lot of students to hear, because it means that you don't have to know what you want to do right when you graduate from high school. Like, you can change your mind along the way from being a magician to becoming president of a tech company. So great question, Heather. Thanks for asking. The next question I have here is going to be for you, Mike. Geneva wants to know, what college courses should I take, or what courses should I take in high school or in college to prepare for a job in STEM?
Yeah, great question. So in my personal experience, all of the obvious ones in high school that they offer, the most definitely calculus, any of the sciences, and honestly, English and the histories helped me, with writing and with personal communication skills. All of that is incredibly useful, and especially when you're younger. Now, when I went to college, they didn't actually they accepted the credits, but I still had to take specific courses for my major. So it just depends on what you're going into, and like I always say, check the fine print on that. But really, you can't really go wrong with any sort of AP or IB courses in high school. And in college, same sort of thing, but you'll get more and more focused as you determine really what you want to do. And the school will guide you. For instance, like I took a lot of economics courses, which helped with a lot of statistics and just getting math. But yeah, that the school will kind of gently nudge you towards the right path.
That's great, Mike. Yeah, with your major and whatever program that you're in, there will be courses that you'll have to take to get the degree, and also some electives as well. Lamia, would love to get your take on that question too. What courses did you take in high school that prepared you for your college courses as a bio major?
So some classes I took were, of course, math classes like algebra, A and B, trigonometry. I also took economics, and it kind of did help me with my statistics because I also needed that for my major. But most of the classes that you take now in high school is like, you're still going to take it in college. Like, I still took algebra. I did take algebra A and B. Like, I'm taking trig right now. I completed my statistics. And like what Michael said, that I did do what Greg says, that I did do some electives. Like, depending on what you want to do, you're going to need like certain credits and it's going to have to fit a certain criteria to help you further your career.
Great. Well said, Lamia. Mike, this next question is for you. Zhang wants to know, how did you get started at NASA?
So the kind of boring answer is once I graduated from college, I cast my resume as wide and far as I could, and NASA was the one that stuck. I started as a contractor, and then working in wind tunnels and wind tunnel testing, and then hopped the fence over into civil service, working for NASA as a researcher. So really, targeting specific NASA, may or may not work out. So there are multiple avenues to getting to that point. And one of those is working in industry first, and then getting relevant job experience, and then hiring on at a more advanced level for NASA.
That's great, Mike, that you're able to get experience in a related field or related area before actually getting to NASA. So awesome. Thanks for sharing. Our next question's from Leah, and Leah wants to know, what are employers looking for in potential employees? I guess specifically for companies in the STEM field. Ken, as a president of a tech company, what are you looking for in potential employees?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, today table stakes are obviously, do you have the right skill set, right? So definitely look over the job description. I know that, our recruiters are sometimes frustrated when they just get inundated with resumes that don't necessarily match. At a minimum, if you are applying for the job, take a look at the job description, and if you really want to go to that place, customize your resume, like add specific experience that match, that particular job description. Because if you just kind of shotgun your resume, then folks are going to be like, well, wait a second, I needed somebody with Python. They didn't have any Python. And maybe you did do some of that in class, right? So I would definitely, basically kind of do something along that line. I think once you get beyond kind of that skill set situation, at least from our discipline, there'll be a technical screening test type thing that you kind of take. Once you kind of pass that, I mean, the reality is the culture a right fit for you, right? And that's from both sides, to be honest with you. So I would ask questions around that about, kind of what kind of work-life balance, what kind of benefits, what are the type of people? Do you like the people that you're talking to? Because ultimately, at the end of the day, from the employer side as well as from your side, you got to talk to people and you're like, do I want to work, do I want to spend a large portion of my life, with these people, right? So most of our employees basically say they like the reason that they stay is they like the people that they're working with. They're inspired by the people that they're working with, right? So I think that's, something else. And that's a hard thing to kind of judge until you get into the interview process. But you can look at the website or read reviews or Glassdoor or whatever and see what the culture is like.
That's great advice, Ken. Also, I think one big takeaway from that is ask questions, right? You have folks that are around you who are maybe in similar careers, or you're attending events like Big Future Live, where you have a chance to just ask questions about what that job is like to get a sense of if it's going to be a right fit for you. So great advice, Ken. My next one is also for you, Ken. And this question is from Lydia. What are the pros of entering the STEM field?
I would say, almost every industry. And again, I'm looking at it from a little bit of a biased view because I started back in, kind of computer science, back when computers were just being invented and that sort of thing. But if you look at today, especially in the software arena, almost everything has a software component, and I have 3 kids, two of them graduated from college, one is in college currently. And I made them all take a programming class. 2 of them didn't like it, but it's almost like a little bit like reading and writing, right? Like you don't have to do it. You don't have to love it. You have to kind of understand it, right? Because everything, like all industries now, right, are being pushed through STEM, and it's only going to grow. So the pros are, I think you will always have opportunity, right? And I do think that, salaries are, like if you look at the top paying careers out there, a lot of them are in the technical, fields.
That's really helpful, Ken. And thank you for the question, Lydia. Again, the question was, what are the pros of entering the STEM field? Lydia, it sounds like you are kind of weighing your options and thinking about like what field and what jobs are going to be the right fit for you. And for those of you who are watching and you're unsure about what you want to do, one way to start exploring careers is through the Big Future Career Quiz. So check out this short video about how to get started.
What do you want to do after high school? Is a big question for any student, and it can be hard to know where to start. Big Future, is the free online tool that helps students like you start planning for your future, your way. And our career quiz is a fast and easy way to discover some careers that could be a good match for you. The short quiz asks questions about the kinds of activities you enjoy to discover some careers that might best match your interests. Each career profile has income, education, projected job growth information, which you can sort by to tailor your results. And as you find careers you're interested in, you can save them to your list. Visit bigfuture.org/career quiz today.
So folks, you can log into bigfuture.org right now and take that career quiz. It takes less than 10 minutes to complete, so it's short, it's quick, and it asks you questions about your interests and what you like to do. The best part, after you take the quiz, you'll actually get a list of 30 potential careers that you can explore on Big Future. And here's an example of what one of those career profiles is going to look like. And give me 1 second here. Yes. So here's an example of what, for example, the aerospace engineer career profile will look like. You can get an overview of the job here in this first tab. You can also see things like the median yearly income and projected job growth. And you'll see what education level most aerospace engineers have. In this fourth tab, you'll see the tasks, knowledge, and skills associated with that career. So you can see exactly what does an aerospace engineer do, or for whatever job that you're looking at. Last but not least, you can see career readiness. So there's nothing yet here for me because I haven't taken the SAT or PSAT in my test account here. But if you have taken the SAT or PSAT, you'll be able to see more information on career readiness here. You'll be able to see how your math, reading, and writing skills measured by the SAT map onto the quantitative and literacy demands of a certain job. So basically, you'll be able to see where you are today and where you need to go to meet your career aspirations. And then finally, say you go through this career profile and you decide, hey, I'm really interested in being an aerospace engineer. You can click here and add this career to your list so that you can keep track of different jobs that you're interested in. And it's as easy as that. So to get started, you can scan the QR code on your screen right now to actually take that career quiz. And 10th and 11th graders who are watching today, when you save 3 or more careers to your list on Big Future, you'll be automatically entered into drawings for $500 and $40,000 scholarships. All you need to do is save 3 careers. If you're a senior joining us today, a 12th grader, log into bigfuture.org and look at your dashboard to see what you can do today so that you can also qualify for 40K. Every month here at Big Future, we will award 2 or more $40,000 scholarships and hundreds of $500 scholarships. So the sooner you complete steps like adding 3 careers to your career list, the more chances you have to win. So again, get started today and scan that QR code to take the career quiz right now. Let's get back to some of our questions here. And I know we just saw an aerospace engineer career profile, and we actually have a question here from Akash. And Akash wants to know, what subjects should high school students choose if they're interested in going into aerospace engineering? Mike, what do you think?
Yeah, if it has a lot of Greek symbols in it, then by golly, that's it. You know, calculus and sciences, really, and particularly math. Math, while it is difficult, it is the most widely applicable, because, you know, we're as an industrial engineer, you use it. As an aerospace engineer, you definitely use it. So really focusing in on on that. But as I emphasized earlier, language skills are very, very valuable. So just don't focus on just the STEM. A good base is very valuable for you as a student.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. So take those math classes, take those calculus classes, but don't forget about English and some of the other things too, if you want to go into STEM or aerospace engineering. We have a question here from Jennifer. Jennifer wants to know, are there particular areas in STEM where you see job growth potential in the next 10 years or so? Jennifer, that's a great question. I like that you're really thinking about the future there. Ken, what do you think? What jobs or areas in STEM do you see growth in?
Yeah, I do want to pause a little bit and piggyback off of what Michael said, because I do think that everybody here is obviously pursuing or interested in STEM. Nothing happens unless it's communicated. So unfortunately, take the writing classes, take the public speaking classes, take the communications, because you will have to, like, if you're going to be effective, you need to be able to get your ideas across and be able to translate some of that hard science into layman's terms and that sort of thing, and into business terms. As far as high need growth potential, as I mentioned, I think the software industry is only going to grow. So there's going to be more and more demand as you look at it. The hot trajectory companies, like even like a Tesla or something like that, they've taken an automobile and really moved it into the software arena, right? So everything is controlled by software. You get over-the-air updates like a phone to your car, right? Like unheard of before. So that's going to be important. Machine learning, data science, AI, anything kind of big data related, because the change. So I was an artificial intelligence major. The change today is, when I studied, the issue is we didn't have enough data. Now there's too much data, right? So all of a sudden, a lot of the things that I was working on, back in my graduate studies, with like neural networks or genetic algorithms and that sort of thing, all of a sudden they're now a possibility. So machine learning, AI, data science is all a big thing. On the flip side, I think that healthcare, as you've seen in the pandemic, everybody's going to be growing older. Disease is still a big issue. So that's also going to be, I think, a huge growth field. My opinions, again, the world according to Ken. I have a very small view, I think.
All good, Ken. All good, Ken. It's helpful. And you mentioned healthcare. I think it's a great segue to our next question. And this question is for you, Lamia. We have a question from Dawn. Dawn wants to know, what do you plan to do with your degree when you graduate?
So when I graduate, I plan on going to medical school. And then after medical school, I plan on doing anesthesiology. But before I actually get to do that, I have to do like residency years. And it's going to take me a while, but I'm going to get there. But yeah, I want to do anesthesiology when I get my degree and everything.
And why anesthesiology, Lamia?
Okay, so it's kind of a funny story.
We love funny stories.
So during the pandemic, I started watching Grey's Anatomy. And as a junior, that's when COVID happened. I didn't really know what I wanted to pursue. Like, I didn't really know what other careers there were. So I was a nursing major at first. So I was like, okay, since my family is like, most of them are nurses, I'm going to go into the nursing major and see what I can do with that. So when I was watching Grey's Anatomy, I saw like, the surgeries and everything. Like I love watching like surgeries and everything, but I don't like cutting people open. So I just I want to be there for the people that's like before surgery, like calming them down and just everything's going to be all right. And then be there for them after, like everything went smoothly or, any other like complications, hopefully not, but yeah.
That's awesome, Lamia. And hey, that's a good example of, watching pop culture and getting inspiration from that, but then actually digging in a little bit more, taking the classes, learning a little bit more about what that is actually like, and then actually pursuing it and making it a reality. Thanks for sticking. Yeah.
It was a lot. Like, I would say if you don't know what you want to do right now, it's okay. Like, you're always gonna, when you have your advisors and everything, they're gonna help you. Like, you're gonna see how many majors there are once you get on campus. Like, you didn't know that that was a major or that was a major. Like, once you get on campus and realize everything, that's what is really gonna help you further. Like, you're gonna open your eyes and be like, wow.
Great advice, Lamia. Our next question here is for, well, I guess for all of you. We're going to make it kind of rapid fire. We've talked about what, why you chose your specific career or your specific path, but like walk us through a day in the life of working for NASA, being a president of a tech company, and being a biology student. I know every day is going to be a little bit different, but like pick one day and tell us, what is your everyday like? I'll start with you, Ken.
Oh gosh, this one's going to be a hard one. I'm going to try to give like just 3 stages very quickly. Yeah. So first stage is coming in, entry level software engineer. 90% of my day is basically coding. Couple of meetings where I get an idea of what's going to happen, and then meet with the manager and show the stuff or whatever, and then move on. Then, once I got interested in business, becoming a project manager, that became more of like managing people every day. And so your entire day was like making sure that everybody else was busy with their assignments before doing your stuff. And then becoming an entrepreneur was honestly, and I saw a question out there as, like, don't do it unless you're really, willing to make the sacrifice, because it is 24/7. I mean, it's basically 24/7 for the first couple of years while you're scaling up the business. Today, most of my day is spent making sure that all of my administrative stuff is cleared, such that when the inevitable thing that you didn't know was going to happens, you have enough mind share to basically deal with that. Because something always goes wrong. My CEO actually has a funny saying where every time we meet, he says, 0 days since the last incident. And they're not bad. I mean, it's just every day there's something that comes up that you just didn't anticipate, right? So a lot of that is being prepared to deal with that as as kind of an owner or whatever. So.
Thanks, Ken. So my headline for that is be prepared for the unknown. Be ready for anything, right? Mike, let's move on to you next. What is your everyday look like? And Yvonne specifically asked this. What is your everyday as an aerospace research engineer?
Yeah, sure. So I generally deal with I'm a test engineer, test researcher. So I'm dealing with a lot of hardware. So I'm a lot of times I'm in the lab, I'm taking measurements, I'm interacting with the hardware, trying to do more tests as to to figure out what are we figuring out. I'm currently working on the Space Launch Systems project, and right now we are we're putting the rocket into the wind tunnel and testing out the aerodynamics. So typical day looks like going in, making sure everything is working on the model, then running the wind tunnel, and then looking at the data that comes out of it. And then on the less glamorous side, typing up monthly reports, making presentations to your boss, going to meetings, and all of that other fun stuff, which it exists. Everyone will have to do it.
Absolutely, Mike. That stuff exists in all jobs, right? But headline is be an aerospace engineer. You could find yourself in wind tunnels every day and maybe working on a rocket that's going to go into space. So that's pretty cool too. And Lamia, what is your everyday like as a bio student?
So everyday life for me is I wake up at 6:50 in the morning. So yeah, every day I gotta wake up at 6:50, try to get to 8 a.m. class, y'all. And it's not the same. 8 a.m. from high school is not the same as 8 a.m. from college. It's totally two different things. But I go to class, my first class at 8, and then I go to the library for about 3-4 hours until my next class. And when I'm at the library, I like to complete all my work. I complete all my work by, I want to say by Wednesday, Thursday, so I can have like Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. And yeah, it's kind of hard. I'm not gonna lie. It's a lot to manage, but I will say have a planner with you, plan out all your due dates and everything. And when you're gonna do it by, don't wait till last minute, guys. Don't. It's gonna be the worst. Don't wait till last minute because it's not gonna be worth it at the end. But
Wisdom beyond your years.
Yes, also prioritize everything. Like you're gonna make a lot of sacrifices, like Ken said. You're gonna want to go out with your friends, but you still have work. You still came to college to like further your education. Like still, you could go out, but like do your work first, because you not doing your work is really you're gonna wish that you did your work rather than going out.
That's great advice, Lamia. And you know, what you're saying is really reminds me of what Ken said. Like in his job every day, he has to plan and prioritize and to make sure that, you know, things go smoothly. So you can practice that, you know, in high school and in college, because it'll be a useful skill way down later in life. My next question is from Felicia. And Felicia, Mike, this question is for you from Felicia. How important are internships?
Ooh, that's a tough one, because internships are, you know, when I was in college, it was, you know, you got to get an internship. You got to make sure you have the job experience to get the job. So yes, they can be important. And it's also kind of one of the areas, at least in aerospace engineering, is where you kind of need a plan, because the big ones, the ones that are obvious to everyone, are obvious to everyone, and a lot of people are applying to them. And these companies have a lot of resumes to sift through. So what I would recommend is figuring out what you want to do and going to pursue that. Now, it might not be what you want to do 10, 20, 30 years in the future, but for a summer, there's a lot available that, hey, you reach out to a company, maybe they don't necessarily have a spot for an intern, but you know, you reach out to somebody and get someone on the phone and say, hey, I'm available, I'm a college student, here's my skills, my relevant work applications, and do you have a job? That's kind of how it worked for me. And probably the worst, you know, the best worst advice is it does help to know someone.
That's great advice, Mike. And I think something that a lot of folks need to hear is that networking is a really important skill for navigating life after high school. And the first step is asking questions. Ask questions on Big Future Live. Ask questions of your high school counselors, of your professors, of other folks that other adults in your life that are helping you along the way. Ask questions, make those connections. Those will all help you kind of inform what that next step is going to look like. I have a question here from, where is it? From John. John wants to know, what can I do to improve my programming and debugging skills? Ken, can you take that one?
Wait, I thought that was a Lamia question. I honestly, it's just practice, right? So I would, you know, like there's a Malcolm Gladwell book called Outliers. And basically what he says is it's 10,000 hours, right? That's when you become an expert within your field. So unfortunately, you know, so it's funny because as I mentioned there, you know, two of my kids hated programming. One of my kids loved it, and now he's, you know, he was working for Facebook. He just went to a startup. But you know, either you love looking for that missing semicolon for like 8 hours and banging your head on the table and being like, gosh, it was right there, or you don't. Right. And so what I would say is you just need to practice, you know, either do a project of your own, right? Like if you're trying to learn a language and you know, so for me, it was like, I wanted to, like, I got hooked on Space Invaders. It was like one of the first video games. And I was like, I didn't have quarter. I didn't have any money, right? My dad had a computer, and I was like, okay, I need to learn how to program so I can play video games for free. So you can do a personal passion project, right? Like of something, or there's lots of open source projects out there. Like go hop on something that you're interested in and try to contribute, right? You can take the courses and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of online courses, but there's nothing like real world experience, because that's going to hone you down, right? And then when you get to an interview or when you get to college or when you get to courses, you're like, I've seen this before, right? Like then there's a pattern that comes to it and you know how to solve these things.
And I'd just like to piggyback on that real quick, especially in the open source projects. That is a real world thing that you can point to for your resume. And that is legit job experience that you can say, hey, I have written code, here it is used, and it is something that you can have without having the internship, without having the courses, without having the grades, all of that. That is something you can point to, especially in the quick moving tech field like that. It really helps.
It's a good point. Just to add on to that, I can tell you that our recruiters ask for your GitHub account as part of your resume submission. So,
what advice do you have for someone who's looking for those open source projects?
Oh, there are so many out there that honestly you can pick, whatever you're like truly interested in. So it would be something, probably will resonate with a lot of the folks here. And I think is a big, opening or whatever. I'm personally very interested in the whole, blockchain thing, right? So, I've hopped on some of those or whatever and dug into code and, worked on some of that stuff or whatever, just as a personal thing to, more to actually just understand, the technology, right? So whatever you're passionate in, there's plenty of, open source projects to work on. And it doesn't have to, a lot of people just get, started just doing a bug fix, right? Like it's like a couple lines of code, right? They just dug in and that's how you get started.
That's great, Ken. Find something that you're passionate about. Words of wisdom there. We're almost at time, but I do want to go around. I have one last question for our panelists here. Rapid fire. What's one piece of advice you have for students who are exploring careers in STEM? We'll go rapid fire around the room. Lamia, I'll start with you.
I don't even know how to answer that. I'm gonna have to read that again.
What's one piece of advice you have for students who are exploring careers in STEM?
Make time for yourself. Make time for yourself. Don't feel overwhelmed, because most times that you will feel overwhelmed, but make sure you have like a day for yourself or an hour for yourself. If you're studying, take an hour break. You're going to need it. Don't just try to cram everything in at one time. Please make time for yourself. Please. It's important. Very important.
Absolutely, Lamia. Self-care for sure. Mike, what about you? What's your one piece of advice?
Yeah, one piece of advice is to don't worry about if you don't know exactly what you want to do. We've been talking about passion projects, figure it out, know what you're doing, zoom in on something. If you know it, great. But don't stress out if you don't, because I didn't. I went along for the ride and I ended up here. So things will work out, even if you don't know, and just learn and explore.
Great advice, Mike. You don't have to know right away. Keep learning, keep asking questions, keep exploring. And Ken, we'll end on you.
Yeah, no, I think Mike has, actually both of you have great advice or whatever, because, I think, our culture, we start asking kids at a very early age, like, what do you want to be when you grow up, right? And so there is this feeling of like, I have to be ahead of everybody else. I have to know my major and I have to get into my industry. I have to graduate early and I'll, take your time, because I can tell you, I had no idea I was going to be doing this when I first started or whatever. So definitely meander around that way. On the flip side, I know a lot of you are like, looking towards like, how do I get into the best colleges, and like, how do I take the SATs? And, so one of the things, having, gotten, 3 kids into college, and, I feel bad about the first one because I had no idea what we were doing. But, push upon your uniqueness, right? Once again, and it doesn't, like, I hate using I know I use the word passion. I would say your curiosity, because I think it changes, right? Like, so you don't want to pursue your passion. You want to pursue your current curiosity and kind of blow that out and make that your uniqueness. Because one of the problems that I had when a kid was, entering college and all this kind of stuff was that, he was a comp sci kind of guy, like head of the robotics club. And you know what? And you want to get into one of these top engineering schools like an MIT or a Stanford or a Harvey Mudd or Caltech or whatever, all of you look the same. You're all head of the robotics class, right? So emphasize that one piece of you, right? And pursue that and blend it in, right? And so for me, I was interested in business, right? And that's how I got my first job, because I was like, look, yeah, I studied AI. I'm like a hardcore programmer, but like, I want to interact with people, and I want to understand how the business works so that I can basically help translate, right? Like, I can be that liaison between the actual business, right? Because the right technical solution is not always the right business solution many of the times, right? You have to weigh in budget, and you have to weigh in and so I became that liaison, and that's how I got to, so my advice would be, don't be like everybody else. What are the things that you're really interested in, and how does that blend into your STEM? And that helps you stand out and advance your career, and then make you happy, right? Because then you're doing something that you love.
That's a great way. That's a great way to end it, Ken. Find something that integrate your individual self into your career, and that's how you'll find happiness, which is awesome. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Unfortunately, that's all we have time for today. I want to thank our panelists for sharing their wisdom. Also, all of our audience members, thanks for being here today. We'd love to hear how today's session went. After this event closes, you'll be automatically directed to a feedback survey. Please complete it. It helps us make Big Future Live even better next time. And if you missed anything from today's event, don't worry, the recording will be available on demand at bigfuture.org/live. And finally, please join us again tomorrow, where we'll hear from Yale University's happiness professor, Dr. Laurie Santos, as she shares tips on how to manage stress as you're planning for life after high school. You don't want to miss it. You can register for free at bigfuture.org/live. Thanks everyone for joining us, and have a wonderful night.